So finally, after years of Joe Biden making public displays of his lack of personal boundaries, it has come to bite him right in the middle of his aging white male ass. And of course, my knee-jerk to his comeuppance is, hell yes. Joe Biden being hoisted up in slow, excruciating increments on his own petard is a welcome sight. Biden, the co-author of the stinking barrel of feminist pork known as the Violence Against Women Act, has for decades used his pulpit to shame and control men on behalf of hateful, power-hungry women. When speaking to college audiences, he even stoops to addressing the men in the crowd as though they're all potential rapists who need to monitor each other for sexual transgressions and be prepared to intervene at any time a man gets out of line. In other words, he's been on a recruitment campaign for brown shirts, thugs to enforce the feminist line on their erstwhile brothers. But, of course, all that was before he started making noise about running for president again. Once it became clear he was seriously considering a run, the hashtag MeToo brigade pounced. And like I said, part of me about that is just hashtag fuck yeah. But between the lines of the convoluted and conflicting media text about this, there is a story that they're ignoring. And it runs deeper than we would ever dare go when a gaggle of whining females come out of the closet all butthurt about things that didn't bother them enough to talk about when they allegedly happened. And again, given Joe Biden's personal history of pampering that kind of chicken shit behavior in women, I'm hardly inclined toward writing in to save him. Still, as a matter of intellectual honesty and consistency, I must acknowledge that when all is said and done, this is just one more man being skewered and roasted over the coals of social justice insanity. I'm not dwelling on that, mind you, because there's one major difference in this case that can't be overlooked, mainly because of the implications for all men in the future. And that difference is simple. None of the allegations against Biden, at least so far, are for sexual assault or harassment. Nope, Joe wasn't accused of raping anyone or of pressuring women for sex or even of sexual innuendo in the workplace. In fact, none of the accusations so far have come from women who claim they were making sexual complaints about the vice president. Instead, their accusations are solely that he made them feel uncomfortable. That's it. Not raped, not abused, not traumatized. This is just about women feeling a little uneasy. For that, we need hashtags and outrage. Lucy Flores said Biden smelled her hair and kissed the back of her head. Former House aide Amy Lapos told the Hartford Courant that at a 2009 fundraiser, Biden had forced her to rub noses with him. Lapos said the incident wasn't sexual, but that he did grab her by the head. Caitlin Caruso said that 3 years ago when she was 19, the vice president placed his hand on her thigh and hugged her, and I'm quoting here, just a little too long. DJ Hill, who met Biden in 2012, said that she was made to feel very uncomfortable when he first put his hand on her shoulder and then began moving it down her back. As though in coordinated fashion to cripple Biden rather than kill him, none of his accusers claimed that his behavior was sexual. They all just claimed they felt uncomfortable. Oh, the horror. Let's gather a team of psychotherapists and roll out the wheelbarrows of psychotropic medications. Let's give these poor, unfortunate, uncomfortable women T-shirts that say, "I survived my hair being sniffed by the Vice President of the United States." Then they can posture in public and crow about how powerful they are. Girl power. And let's get them all on the talk show circuit so that all the Oprah wannabes can call them courageous for launching an attack just before Joe Biden was to announce his candidacy for the presidency, then waddling forth like a row of ducklings, following the camera like it was a mother duck. If that sounds like sympathy for Biden, by the way, it's not. But it is concern for all the men who will follow him into the crosshairs in an age where you really don't have to do anything to women to have them come at you en masse. You just have to displease them. Do that, and your toast is the very, very clear message. Giving them a pass because Biden deserves all this is a mistake. They're just feeding you a target you hate to help you get accustomed to what they're doing. Now, if you'll allow me a slight digression, I'd like to offer some observations about Biden's behaviors that lent automatic credibility to his accusers, whether he did what they said or not. It is clear from watching his interactions with people over the years, much of which has been captured on video, that Joe Biden has some serious issues with personal boundaries. He can be seen grabbing people repeatedly, dragging them into unwanted physical displays of affection, and sometimes moving them around like pieces of furniture. This is most prevalent with children and has led some to speculate that creepy Uncle Joe is actually Pedo Joe. Personally, I'm not buying this one, and not just because I'm a stickler for hard evidence. Pedophiles don't get caught molesting children because of the way they behave publicly. Pedos are acutely aware that their proclivities with children are deviant, and they go to excruciating care to hide their true nature. You often see this when it's discovered after a pedo gets caught that they had been molesting children for years, and often were in positions of trust with the children and their families. They are experts at hiding in plain view. Biden doesn't fit that model to me at all. Biden doesn't seem to be capable of hiding anything. What he does fit with, though, is a person who has no real understanding of personal boundaries. In fact, that is likely an understatement. Biden is clueless, bordering mentally disabled, where it concerns the personal space of others. You can watch him in action as children shy away from his rough invasion of their personal space, as they lean back when he takes control of their bodies, as he shows absolutely no cognizance of the effect he's having. It just doesn't register. And it would seem that no matter how many times this is repeated, Creepy Joe remains creepily unaware of the disgust and discomfort he is generating. He doesn't get a pass, not even when grown adults don't muster the fortitude to tell him to quit pawing at them. It's clear he's seen a number of people recoil from his unwelcome conduct, and that should be enough to cue anyone to change their behavior. But Joe Biden isn't just anyone. And so the question for me is about what makes someone like this tick. I mean, we've all met creepy Joes in our lives, maybe a few of them. People who were way overly touchy and genuinely didn't seem to get that it wasn't cool. They seem honestly shocked whenever someone tells them to knock it off, and like socially inept dolts, they assume that it is the person with the boundaries who has the problem. The question, and in this case we're asking about Joe Biden, is what shapes a personality with these particular flaws? And as is the case many times, if you want to understand what makes a person tick, then take a look at their family of origin. And a look at his family of origin provides an instant snapshot that explains Creepy Joe to a T. He once told a Senate committee, and I quote, "In my house, being raised with a sister and 3 brothers, there was an absolute. It was a nuclear sanction. If, under any circumstances, for any reason, no matter how justified, even self-defense, if you ever touched your sister, not figuratively, literally. My sister, who's my best friend, my campaign manager, my confidant, grew up with absolute impunity in our household. And I have the bruises to prove it, he added. I mean that sincerely. I'm not exaggerating when I say that. Unquote. Think about those words for a moment and see if it doesn't put the pieces of the puzzle together. Does it not explain the development of a man with a failing sense of personal space? A man for whom interpersonal boundaries have been blurred and sometimes erased? These days, I take all complaints from women, especially those which are politically timed, with a rather hefty grain of salt. But when Joe Biden says he didn't know he was invading personal space, when he implies he thought his behavior was normal, I've got no problem believing him at all. A failure to respect personal boundaries was perfectly normal in the Biden family, and Joe has the bruises to prove it. His sister could terrorize him, physically assault and bully him with complete impunity. He knew damn well that if he tried to do anything about it, that his parents would, as he put it, go nuclear on him. This not only explains how we got creepy Uncle Joe, but also Joe Biden, mindless defender of women, persecutor of men. How could this family not produce another bully, another boundaryless zombie with no understanding of personal space? How surprising is it in this context that Joe Biden would grow up to author legislation that allowed women to act with impunity while punishing men, even those acting in self-defense? It's part of the human condition. It's what we do. We grow up with the common tendency to repeat our family pathology. We recreate family dysfunction and engage in hapless attempts at corrective experiences until we become aware of what we're doing and elect to stop. Many of us go to our graves doing that with no real awareness of it. It's how Joe Biden ended up being 76 years old, still playing the role of a bully, trying and failing to cope with the abuse he endured as a child. Joe's a douche for sure. He's gained a lot of power in his life and he's used it to inflict the same harm on other men he was subjected to as a child. Whether he made a few entitled brats feel uncomfortable for 2 minutes is of little concern to me. But the fact is that we now live in an age where you don't have to do anything more than simply displease a woman to destroy your life. I won't even try to wrap that up on a positive note. As always, folks, thanks for listening. I hope you've enjoyed, even if you haven't, and we'll see you next time.